Well, it's a Friday, and you know what that means. It's the Alter Live Show. Welcome in to the Alter Live Show. I'm Andy.
And I'm Maeve.
It is so good to be here. Now, with you, obviously it's good to be here on the internet. We're live. We've got a very special guest hiding behind the curtain. You can't see behind the curtain right now. You'll get to see momentarily. But Maeve, as we do, before we get into the real meat of everything that's going on, you and I have been sort of kicking around podcast ideas for just me and you.
Yes.
Because we are full of such charisma and such life and vitality. And I wanted to throw out to you, it is your turn to give the Alter Live fam a little bit of a TV recommendation. So last week, I can never remember the one that you gave a couple weeks ago. Last week I said, go watch the back catalog of Lost. Because for nerds like me, it's a thing. So, Maeve, this week on TV recommendations from the Alter Live fam, the longest title in history, what is your TV recommendation?
I honestly wrote a little note card for myself so I could be systematic.
Wow, look at you.
Description, yes, because I feel like I'm very passionate about this show that I could talk for a long time, so I wanted to be concise. So the show I'm going to recommend today is another British show.
You and the British shows, man.
I do love British shows. It's called The Girls in Corfu. It's on Amazon Prime. It's a masterpiece classic, so it's appropriate for the whole family. And I just have to say, to preface, I've always loved period pieces, but I feel like most period dramas that I watched when I was younger were always very anxiety inducing. Because, people are always sick, they're injuring themselves, you can always expect something devastating to happen. I remember watching different period pieces and even the cooks in the kitchen, I'd be nervous because they were about to cut off their finger. I don't know if that's just me, but they're always trying to show how hard it was to live in the past. So they're always injuring themselves. Is this just me? If you watch a period piece, they're always hurting themselves.
Sure, but I mean, let's be honest. It was probably pretty tough to live in the 17 and 1800s,
no, I know,
right?
Totally. And that's the thing. I'm okay, well, it was totally tough to live back then. But is there a fun period? Could there be a fun period piece? And I found it.
Okay.
It's called The Girls in Corfu. It is a true story of the Durrell family about a single mother and her 4 very eccentric children who just kind of leave London and move to Corfu, Greece in the 30s.
Okay.
And there are so many adventures, and it's really funny, and about how this family is adapting to, life in a new country. And so the youngest son, Gerald, who's portrayed in the show, he grew up to be a really famous naturalist in England, and the books are what the show is based on, and it's hilarious.
I'm gonna take your word
Do you
for
not
it.
like period dramas?
No. See, anytime period drama leaves a weird taste in my mouth because Downton Abbey.
Okay.
And I don't know.
You don't like Downton Abbey?
Here's the thing. I watched an episode and a half of Downton Abbey, and so I got through the first
season? The first
the
season?
very first, yeah. So I got through the first one. I was a single guy. I don't know why I was watching it other than it had been recommended. I was a worship pastor at the time. One of the worship team members had Andy, you really need to watch. She put her hand on my shoulder Andy, you really need to watch Downton Abbey. And I said, okay, Tina, I'll watch. And so watched the first one, and I was like, I don't know. And then there was a guy hiding in a wardrobe, and somebody escaped through, and I physically did done, and I walked out, and I got up off my couch and went and did something else. I couldn't do it. So
No, I hear you. I feel like this is why I'm suggesting this period piece, because it is so much better than Downton Abbey. It's more about like family and the children getting into adventures, and the young boy Jerry finding animals and learning about the creatures on the island. I mean, I don't need to convince you. Like, I'm not trying to make you
every recommendation you ever give me, I give a shot to. So everybody in the Ultra Live fam that's watching this right now, live or on demand, wherever you are watching this, Kirk Nugent joining us in the chat. We'll be talking about him momentarily. Everybody that joins us, give it a shot. Something about Corfu. You're gonna have to give the name one more time, Maeve, because I totally forgot the name.
The Durrells in Corfu. Durrells is Durrells.
The Durrells in Corfu.
Okay. Durrells in Corfu.
Fantastic. Well,
yes.
Welcome to the Ultra Live Show officially. We're a little bit early today, and that's fine because we've got a lot to get to. So what we typically do here on the Ultra Live Show, if you've been with us for longer than 5 minutes, is after we get through our TV recommendations or talking about the weather or the Olympics or whatever, or the Ukraine, which you can see I'm still sporting the colors back here. We like to go through tips and tricks and use cases for Ultra Live, and every once in a while we'll bring through a special guest onto the show that blows us away. And he's behind the curtain right now, and I hope he's not I hope he's not blushing, and I hope he's ready for this, because ladies and gentlemen, we have the one, the only Mr. Kirk Nugent joining us today.
Wow.
Kirk, welcome to the Ultra Live Show. It is so good to have you, my friend.
It's good to be here, man. Appreciate you guys. And I was listening, and I was actually Googling that show, Maeve. So I don't know, man. I'm kind of with Andy on this one. Those period pieces, I'm like, oh.
All right.
So,
each his own,
no, I'm going to try it out. I'm going to try it out.
So
I'm always looking for another show.
Exactly. We're always looking for another show. My wife will finish like something, and we'll look at each other like, oh, no, what do we do now?
Yeah, this is
the show hole.
Yeah, the show hole.
The show hole.
Okay,
it's very real.
I'm for that. I'm for that title. Yeah, we just picked up a show called Yellowstone, and I don't know that I'm sold yet. I
don't know.
There's a bit of violence and some stuff going on that. Yeah. Is the right thing here. So Kirk, what are you guys watching right now? Like, what's on the reel?
Man, so as a family, we are huge American Ninja Warrior fans.
Yes.
So of course we're in between right now.
Yes.
And we actually do belong to a ninja gym here locally. So like that's a huge fun fact. And my wife is like a level 5. I'm like level 1.
What?
So I have to do all my chores at home. No, but we also are huge on travel, right? I shared with you guys that we lived in South Africa in the pre-show. So we are big fans of The Amazing Race, which just finished the season finale. This was a special season because they had to stop in the middle due to COVID. And they took like a year and a half off and then came back with the same group. And then finished out the season. That was, so it's kind of a special one, but yes, just finished the season finale of that. So that was pretty awesome as well.
Huh. That's fantastic. Okay. So Kirk, we're talking to you like we know you. We do, but the rest of the audience might not be aware of you. So who are you? Like, give us your, in the pre-show rundown, give me your origin story, like who you are, where you came from, what you're doing now, etc. Like, start from the beginning. Let's go.
Right. Okay, so I am a self-professed Jesus geek, right? I'll just say that right off the top. Self-professed Jesus geek, because those are, two of my passions. I love Jesus and I love tech. And tech kind of bleeds over into media, remote producing, broadcasting, all that stuff. So to kind of take it all the way back, that was the degree I decided to go for. Computer engineering technology is a bachelor's degree from Andrews University, 2002. Yes, I'm dating myself, but came out of school, worked in technology for a number of years, a number of really great, cool, awesome places. What I like to say is that I could not have orchestrated this resume myself. It is definitely something that was ordered. So, I worked at NASA, first job. Second job, T. Rowe Price. The third job worked for the World Church, Seventh-day Adventist World Church, and got a chance to travel the entire globe, literally the entire globe. It was best job in the world. But then we decided to have kids, and I wanted to be a little bit more close to home, or at least not travel as far and as often. So I don't know why we thought this was a good idea. We took a job to be the IT director for an NGO in South Africa. Do not move with a 1-year-old and a 4-month-old.
What?
Do not do this.
Oh, why? Why, Kirk? Why? What hardships could you have gone through?
Oh my goodness, we learned the hard way. Of course, we would never change any of it for the world now, and love the time that we spent in Africa. Again, all in technology, and that's kind of where the shift happened. While in South Africa, I started a little YouTube channel. I was trying to lose some weight. So my first videos, if you go back on YouTube, you'll see there's a whole set of videos where I was doing the Insanity Challenge by Sean T. From Beachbody, and lost about between that and T25, I lost about 40 pounds. But I blogged my way through, like forced myself to do a video a day, and it's terrible stuff. I'm telling you. I mean, the video editing is absolute trash. But that was my first foray into kind of doing this content creator thing. And also, while in South Africa, as IT director, they were like, what are we going to do with the media team? Give it to the IT director. I don't have a clue what media does. So I was kind of baptized by fire there, had to really get in and figure out, what is my team doing? I didn't want to be managing folks who I don't understand their job. So really went down the rabbit hole, if you will, and learned what they were doing. It's kind of also one of the reasons why I decided, let me pick up this YouTube thing just to get the rhythm of creating videos. We were running a we had 6 hours on a 24-hour channel that we had to make content for. And so it was quite a big operation. Building sets, we had a carpenter on staff. I mean, it was fairly big operation, and definitely did some live streaming as well. First forays into that. Well, actually, that wasn't even my first foray into live streaming, but that's a whole nother story. But yes, got a chance to do some live streaming there as well. And then moved back to the States to be CIO for Oakwood University, which is a historically Black college here in North Alabama, also belonging to that same denomination. So really got a chance to dig my hands in again. And then, of course, again, they were like, what do we do with the media team? Give it to the IT. Of course, now at this point, I had some experience. So I was interested in, and we were running broadcasts Friday nights, Saturday nights. We would broadcast the chapel services on Thursdays. We would broadcast their Wednesday night programs, a lot of youth programs, student-driven programs. I would partner with the student bodies on campus to do different things. It was a lot of fun from a media perspective. But my first dive into live streaming was with Mogulus. Anybody remember Mogulus?
Yeah. That's
there we go.
That's
okay,
that's like Justin TV era type stuff.
Come on.
Yeah.
You know, Boinks and all that stuff. Just going way back.
Yep.
So got into live streaming around that time frame. And at that time, it wasn't like stream to Facebook, YouTube, LinkedIn, Twitter. It was stream to the platform you were using. So Mogulus was, all encompassing. Chat was there. Everything was there on the screen. And we were using that. Mogulus became Livestream. For those that know that there is a company called Livestream, and they have huge, massive equipment, more tier 4 type equipment. And then Livestream was then purchased by Vimeo. And if you've ever used any of their OTT stuff, that's all, the whole back end, all of it, they forked it in from Livestream. So that's the bringing it to current day. When I left work, formal employment, at the beginning of the pandemic, I was trying to figure out what would be the best thing to do. And I knew I had all these broadcast background, and I stumbled on a couple of platforms, one of them being StreamYard, another being Ecamm. And I was like, my goodness, what have they done here? They've stuffed everything into these little platforms, and I couldn't believe what was possible through a web browser. And so I took that background and applied it, and was able to keep my church online and get a number of other churches online, and then began making content for churches to be able to help themselves out. But of course, the content is broadly applicable. My audience is not only church folks, but there's a lot of content there, and we're excited that people are able to use that to bridge that gap and have these spaces where meaningful interaction could take place, even though we were quarantined and worlds apart. So that has been, just really fulfilling for me in terms of my story. And that's kind of bringing us to current day. Content creator, live video coach, live video marketing, and remote producer. So that's me in a nutshell. And I don't know how long that was, maybe 8 minutes.
I could listen to you talk forever. So this is
Oh,
you
man.
this is you full time then. I mean, you are doing that. You're coaching.
Full-time.
You're doing everything here. How
Absolutely.
you said you found it rewarding. You said it felt like you were designed for this. How are you seeing that kind of play out in your relationships, in sort of all of the things you're doing, or is it something kind of overarching that you just feel inside?
I get to bring all of my passions to bear under one flag, if you will. So one of the things that is a core belief of mine is that we should be seeking to serve others. And it just so happens, as I, follow some of the greats in terms of content creation and getting into this space, I'm learning that they share the same belief. In fact, one of the key takeaways I learned getting into this content creator space was you have to answer a question, and you have to seek to serve. That is the cheat code. That's the ultimate hack to getting to growing a following, to doing all of the things. And this is one of the things I share with people all the time. Your story, your lived experience is going to inform what it is you can share with people, because of course you are the pilot project, but also gives you credibility. Right. Because I can tell people, look, I was here. Yes, my camera did fall over, and it was wavy and grainy and you could barely see me. And there were some situations where the lighting was so bad, couldn't tell me from my clothes. And then now you see me today. And what I'm saying to you is that it's possible, but you just have to start. You just got to take a step in that direction towards your goal. You got to have a goal that's bigger than the tech or any of the other things you want to figure out. And if that goal is bigger, you will figure out all those things. And what I found with people is that, generally speaking, people resonate with that message, regardless if they're faith-based, if they're not. They do want to help others, especially if they've come through something, and what they've come through, they can share that experience with others in a way that really helps them to, speed up that process, avoid some of the pitfalls, and learn from somebody else's experience. So that's been wildly beneficial for me to see that kind of thing happen. Of course, a lot of working with churches trying to pivot during the pandemic, trying to figure out, well, how do we do this online thing? Literally in the space of a couple months, churches went from "it is the devil," right? Facebook, no, to "I love this." Like, we are now fully online and we're not even sure we want to go back. So absolutely, we sped through a lot of different phases. And so there are still a lot of churches who are like, oh, help us to understand, how can we do this? And so that's been a major part of what I do as a digital church consultant. In some spaces, that's what I'm called. And that's kind of why I settle on that title, Geek Speaker Preacher, because it just kind of puts it all in one. And as you can tell, I have zero problems talking. So
no,
zero problems talking.
It's good. So, and I was a worship pastor for about 12 years. And then about 10 years. And then for the last 2.5 years, I've actually been a digital pastor.
Nice.
For a church down here in Tampa. And I got hired about
Tampa.
Yeah. Yes, sir. I'm down in
That's
Tampa.
home.
What? You're from Tampa?
I'm from St. Petersburg. I graduated from St. Pete High School.
Shut up. Yeah, no, I'm
serious. I'm green.
My goodness. Man, that's awesome. I live in Odessa. The
I know
church
exactly where that is.
Come on. The church that I work for is called Bay Hope. We're in Lutz. I grew up in Palm Harbor. I went to Palm Harbor U. Okay. I graduated from the IB program over there. I mean, it's...
Oh my word, IB! I went to IB at St. Pete High. This is crazy,
dude. Come on, man, this is amazing.
It's a spring break here in Alabama, starting today.
Yep.
And my family, my 2 kids and my wife are actually heading to St. Pete, literally in another hour. So
shut up. That's amazing.
Now, I'm heading to social media marketing world out west.
So
we're kind of going in separate directions, but that is so awesome, man.
Welcome.
I'm down in that area all the time. So we'll have to talk offline.
I was going to say, yeah, well, we'll grab coffee or something. Anyway, okay, let's move forward.
Absolutely.
But the idea that you talked about, that churches went from like, oh my gosh, online is the devil, to online is the necessity. Yeah. Are you, and this is not on any of the rundown, so you feel free to take it as long or as short as you need to.
Let's go.
So, cool. The idea behind what Altar Live is kind of an establishment, and we'll talk about Altar Live in a minute, but in that sort of vein, are you seeing any sort of drop-off in the amount of churches that are wanting to get online, or are you seeing it more of a repurposing of what they're doing?
I think what we're seeing is in the pandemic there was a necessity, and it was like, well, there's really no. If we could be honest, right? If we really can be brutally honest for just a second, there's one of the major components of actually having the service every weekend, whether you worship on a Saturday or a Sunday, is of course fellowship. I'm trying to be good here and say fellowship first. It's we want to make sure that you get some kind of admonishment through a preached message of some sort. I'm still trying to be good, but the real crux of it is we need to take up that offering. So there it is. You did it already. We needed to pick up that offering, and so there was a huge we can't not have worship because we are donation based. So that was a major motivator. And I think what we're seeing now is that people are kind of pulling back, they're pressing the brakes a little bit, not because they don't feel like online is necessary. They're trying to understand online better. So I'll share two pieces here. One being this. How do I say this part now? So the disciples are, coming in, and they didn't know it was Jesus, but he yells to them, "Did you catch any fish?" And of course they yell back, "No fish." And so he says, "Let down your net." I like to say it this way. So just give me some creative freedom here. Let down your internet on the right side of the boat. I'm just going to say it one more time. Let down your internet on the right side of the boat where the fish are, and you'll get a catch. And I think the people are starting to recognize, wait a minute, the people aren't coming to the physical building. They're already on the internet.
Right.
And if we let down our net on the internet where the fish are, then we'll get a catch, because that's what God has promised us. And so we need to take a step back, really understand what is it like to be successful in this space, and see, can we be successful in answering questions, in sharing with people things that are going to impact their lives in a positive way? Can we be those quote unquote content creators, not just our worship service? So that's the shift I'm seeing. So people are getting into this internet content creation thing, not just from the church service perspective. The church service perspective is one of the spots on the funnel, but they're creating content to put more people into the funnel. And I think that part is where I think the church collective at large is absolutely taking a step in the right direction. The second thing I'll share there is it's a hybrid approach. So there is the need to have that physical touch in-person meeting, but then you've been worshiping in this way for a very long time, and you have e-fam or e-members, whatever you want to call them, who are never, or unless they take a long trip, gonna come to your physical building.
Right.
So what do you do with them? And this is where I think Altar Live is so phenomenal, because it sits right in that space, right in between. This isn't necessarily just us streaming and giving people that voyeur type experience, because that's really all it is when you're a number online, right? This isn't necessarily coming physically to the building. This is in the middle. And I think a lot of churches need to provide a space right in the middle, giving people access to not only come and experience worship, but here's the more critical piece: giving somebody like me the ability to invite a friend digitally to come and sit in the pew in Altar Live, and we can unmute our mics while service is happening and have that experience together. That to me is what we're seeing right now. And I mean, literally just talked to a pastor yesterday. I saw him at a restaurant. I knew he's launching this new online church. And I was like, "Have you checked out Altar Live?" And he's like, "What? I never heard of it." So I've been messaging him back and forth. I actually told him about the show today as well. So there's so many different reasons people of faith need to be looking into doing more online. And we need to do it, as Jesus said, as one who desires their good, not necessarily like, "I want to beat you over the head with the Bible." What is your issue? Guess what? I have that issue too. And let me tell you how I got over it.
Yep.
That's, I think, the successful model. So I'll shut up now.
No, it's good. So I want to answer two questions before Maeve gets to the next question here. But we got two comments come in from James, who who says, our church has accepted virtual service, and now we're working towards continuing building community. In a word, we can't go back now. James, I think a lot of churches are running into that same thing. And this is churches that are using Altar, that are using just Facebook Live and using YouTube and whatever. They saw, just like Kirk was talking about, that they are creating family connections that are not within driving distance, sometimes not even within flight distance of your church. And so they're saying, okay, cool, let's continue to do this hybrid approach. And it's a lot of work, but guess what? That's what we're here for. We're here to work. Absolutely. We're here to make sure that that the fields are being plowed because they are ripe for the harvest. On our Twitch, we're now we're streaming to Twitch today as well. And Indy just jumped in. Indy Fit said, church in biblical times was not a structure. It was a group of people who met together. The desire for giving was not a sanctuary, but back towards those who dedicated their lives to service of others. But lately, churches are losing sight of the message to push a quote-unquote production, which requires more income-generating moves. But we lose sight of what church is, worship and a place to come together and discover more about God. Indy then goes on and talks about megachurches. I want to clear this one real quick, because this, Indy, I think is a fascinating thing that you hit on. And Maeve and I talked about this a couple weeks ago on the Altar Live show. And we talked about the idea that church is not a building. Church is not a church is it's a group of people. The ecclesia, which is the Old English, German and then Old English word meaning called out ones, coming from the Greek root. We are the called out ones. And there is no constraints in the Bible of the apostles were meeting together and breaking bread together and then going to the building together. There is none of that. It is literally they're waiting on tables, they're helping people find Jesus, they're serving, they're growing together, and they are a fellowship together. And we can do that online. It has been proven that we can do that online. Okay, I'm going to shut up because Maeve wants to ask you a question about Altar Live.
Sure.
So you mentioned this like a little bit earlier about how you were talking to a pastor friend of yours and he hadn't even heard of Altar Live. And I'm always so fascinated of how people actually find out about Altar, because it could be through word of mouth, it could be through an organic search, could be through I talked to a pastor who joined a group to help with online engagement, and Altar Live was one of the featured products. So how did you come upon Altar Live, and what attracted you to our platform?
So I do. Let me take one step back. So I'm always trying to check on what's new. What's out there, what's coming, what's next, what are some of the new features, not necessarily to make a switch from one platform to the other. Anybody that follows my channel knows that I recently did a huge live test of a new streaming platform named EVMux. And it really kind of went somewhat viral in that we had the CEO in the chat literally talking to us about features. But this is something that I do. My community knows this. I don't have a huge flag. I was like, no, I'm only StreamYard. No, that's not me. I love StreamYard, but I'm always looking to see what are others doing? How are they doing it? Can we incorporate those things? I feel like that's one of my roles. Something that I'm used to doing, being in R&D and IT and stuff like that. I'm always going through doing pressure testing, real field testing, and it's something that I'm really good at. So I always making this list, and I follow I have an RSS feed that's constantly telling me about new products that are launching. And Altar Live was one of those that was launched. I checked it out initially and actually did not go back for a little bit, but I went to meet with somebody from another, like a conferencing platform, not Hopin or Hoover, Hey Summit or any one of those. It was a new one, a brand new one. I was meeting with them, just kind of doing a product review. I do that literally once, twice a week. And the lady was like, oh yeah, this is similar to Altar Live. I was like, okay, I've only seen that once. And so when she mentioned it, we kind of got to talking, and she's a person of faith. And she was like, yeah, it really is, for that community. I love that there's something specific for that community. So I said, oh, well, I better go back. And went ahead and got a free trial. And I did exactly the same thing that I talked about with EVMux. I did this live test. I mean, just pressure test the entire thing I had people jumping into rooms, and it was all live. By the way, it was a thing, something to behold. It's still there on the channel, but it was quite an experience. And people were like, "This actually can work. This actually can work." And especially for the churches who hadn't really prioritized as much the streaming piece and were much more prioritizing Zoom. This was a much more feature-rich experience. And so for them at that time, because at that time, you guys have a ton of features now. And I mean, I'm actually itemizing a list to put together a video coming out here pretty soon on my channel, just detailing what have been some of the updates. But at that time, there's several of the features were not there. I don't think you even had you had tables in the lobby, but you didn't have rooms.
No, we didn't have rooms or meetings at that time.
Right. So it was that first, I guess first iteration. And I think Andy, not you, but the other, and was it Mahone?
Yeah, Andy May.
And okay, so he actually jumped on with us because we were asking some questions. He jumped into a couple of the rooms. It was helping people to understand it. It was a crazy experience, but I got a chance to really learn it. And of course, my community was like, Altar Live. Something to look into, something to look at. And again, because a lot of my subscribers and are faith-based, they, even just the term was Altar Live was like, wait a minute, let me take a look. So it was that's the kind of the origin story there. But I'm excited to be able to be partnering a little bit closer now, of course, with Altar Academy. And I'm also very excited to somewhat play a small role in getting you guys connected, more integrated with Ecamm, because Ecamm is one of my favorite platforms.
Oh, so you're the dude I have. You're the dude I have to thank for the amazing product that Ecamm is, and I don't say this because I'm not a corporate shill, but my goodness, I use Ecamm 3 or 4 times a day, easy. If it's not virtual cam, if it's not, it's like we're on Ecamm right now. We now are affiliate. We do affiliation with them, and so people that sign up through Ecamm get 20% off, and then 20% off Ecamm and 20% off their Altar Live subscription. So it's kind of it's a back and forth, man. It has helped so much. Even we have a gigantic TV studio that we built during the pandemic for my church, and I still opt for using Ecamm. If I'm not doing a big bombastic broadcast, I'm sitting on 2 computers with Ecamm. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, I do. Cool. And I'll tell you this. So what it was is I was doing some work with Katie and Stephanie like on the same day. I went from one meeting into another meeting, and it just occurred to me like, I wonder if these two know one another. So I just did a quick email introduction, and the rest, as they say, is history. So I'm excited to have played a role in making that connection happen, because you guys have gone on to do some really phenomenal projects together. And I just think, again, where this community is concerned, there are some that have bubbled to the top. Some have come and gone, but I'm excited to see, especially these who are some of my favorites. So if anybody says to me, so, kind of sort of, what's your favorite meeting platform? If you look at the How It All Works community, like if you go to kirknugent.live/community, that's going to take you to an Altar Live page. And that's how I'm using it outside of church. I use it as a headquarters for my community. We have our meetings there. Our mastermind groups are there. A lot of my shows, Maybe We Cuddle, which is on Wednesdays, my live show on Mondays, they all stream there as well. So that's how I'm using it outside of a church scenario. In fact, I've even said to Stephanie, like, if you guys want to take that Altar Live thing off, that might actually, because it does work for content creators as well. So
your
just
lips,
anything about
your lips to God's ears, and we may have some more to talk about in the future on that. So we'll keep that under wraps. You referenced David. First of all, thanks for joining us here on the broadcast today. You referenced earlier Altar Academy, and you can obviously see the placard right next to you, Altar Academy with a question mark. So what is it? I mean, we've heard about it. You've got its own webpage. I've seen your face splashed up there a couple times. I've jumped in on it, but let's kind of go through the uninitiated. What is Altar Academy?
Yeah, there's a change management component to taking a church online, and I think Altar Academy is a great segue. So bring your leadership team, not necessarily media team, although you can have a media team member, a part of your crew coming in, but bring your team to Altar Academy and kind of just walk through this 4-session process. They're 1-hour sessions. They're over the course of 4 weeks. And we walk you through what are some of the things you're going to need to be looking at. So first of all, where are you currently? Identifying where you are currently. And I have a session that's called Transition Requires Identification, because in order for you to go where you want to go, you got to identify where you are currently. And a lot of people haven't taken the moment to pause and say, where are we? Is this where and how far do we want to go? So assessing that part, then who do you need on the team? Who and so looking at the flow of what a service may look like, what an experience may look like, and doesn't have to necessarily be your main service. It could be a different service, but however you're going to use Altar, who are you going to need on that team? Now, itemizing those team members out and creating load balance, right? For, let's say you have a host, you don't want to have one for every week, right? You want to have 20. So creating load balance so that nobody feels burned out, multiple people are trained, and that there is ongoing training. So it's really almost like counting the cost. What do we need to really think about as we launch into this platform, as we launch into this space? I think Altar Academy is good, definitely for new Altar Live subscribers, but I think it's just good for anybody, any church, any leadership team that would be interested in doing more online. I still am a huge proponent of Altar Live, but I do think that what we've put together in Altar Academy really does help people to kind of walk that space. The last session is on the technical. So we do get into the guts, and I'm a techie. So, we get technical. All right. We will talk about those things, but you always hear me say you can start where you are. It's, the cameras and the lights and all these things, it's not going to make your message any better. It's not going to make you any friendlier either. And those are the things that people are going to really remember. That's what's going to grab people's attention and cause them to stay, cause them to feel like they're a part. So yes, we definitely dive into the tech, but I always hasten to add that technical piece. If you get all the tech right, that's only 30% of the whole puzzle. So if you get all the tech right and you fail everything else, you still got an F. So if you get all the other parts right and you don't get any of the tech right, you still pass. Yep. It's a C, but it's still a pass, right? So that's how I like to share it with people, and I hope that resonates as well.
Absolutely. Where there's a community aspect to it as well. So you're kind of creating community amongst leaders, churches, all that other. And how are you gathering everybody after that? On Facebook? Are you doing it through like a .fam? Where else?
Oh, you mean after the sessions are done?
Yeah.
So some of them are basically join some of the community things that I'm doing. Okay. But we are reaching out to them. We have a couple of mailing lists for each cohort. Cool. We've got about 3 or so cohorts at this point now. So we are keeping in touch with them. Some of them are checking in with one another, and they'll just copy me, which I think is awesome. Because these are churches. I mean, our last cohort, we had a church from Alaska. We had a church from Tulsa. We had a church in Maryland, and I think it was one other, can't remember where, somewhere in the Midwest region there. But it was just amazing to kind of hear these leaders. And it's one church had their media director there, the other church had the pastor, another church had, so there's different people from different walks of life. And let's, just as you just shared, it is community. So while I am the facilitator / instructor, there's a lot of shared, we're sharing experiences where as people ask questions, others are like, that's good, let me write that down. And then others that bring out ideas just, to help others get unstuck. But, different people are different places in that process, understanding your stakeholders, understanding where you are, what is your church culture really like? Are you open? I mean, let's be clear, is to go live, to create a campus is almost like creating a whole nother church. Yep. And are you really open to that? Is there, you almost have to like scout out a set of people and say, you guys will be our pilot, and you'll be online now, and that'll be, our extension of this body of faith here. So I agree. I love, the question. And again, yes, we're staying in touch in some unique ways. I think we need to probably structure it a little bit better, but yes, we still hear from all of them. And some of them are launching their stuff soon. Some of them already launched before they came in the academy. So, just kind of following through and making sure that questions can be answered. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, everybody that's watching, everybody that's live with us right now or on demand, watching this, whenever you're watching, you can always sign up for the next Altar Academy. Links are in the description below. You can also go to altarlive.com and click on the big old Altar Academy button at the top. Absolutely. We've got a ton of information on there about how to keep you plugged in, how to keep your community plugged in, your church, whoever is going to be using that with your hosts and greeters as well. We've got a ton of our tutorial series that we've created, and kind of just to help you stay plugged in, but more than that, to help you really reach out, because Altar Live's just a tool. Kirk just said it best, that 70% of the job is actually making sure that you're doing what you need to do as a pastor, leader, friend, mentor, teacher, whatever it's going to be. And that is being the community, being the actual called out ones. Maeve, before I get to my last question for Kirk, anything we need to follow up on? Anything you want to ask him?
Yeah, so while we were preparing for this interview, I was looking at your website, and there were a few things you said that I really wanted you to elaborate on, because I thought they were so powerful. I loved how you said, stop selling, start streaming, and let the clients come to you. And I know you're talking about it in like a business aspect, but I think it really applies to everything, especially in this church world. I liked how it kind of brings this storytelling element to it, and allowing people to know the people behind the product. Could you elaborate on that?
Yeah. There's one other line on there where I say your live stream is your digital storefront. And if you remember Main Street from way back in the day, you had these storefronts all along Main Street. And of course, people had apartments, or in their homes were above, but they would actually sell space in those storefronts, because that pathway through Main Street was high traffic. These terminologies still translate online, right? So there's high traffic Main Street. And so people would sell space in their storefront. So why I call your live stream your digital storefront is because people can window shop. People can come over and say, oh man, I like what Andy's doing over there. That's awesome. And again, like your live show here, this show that you guys do on Fridays, this is also part of your digital storefront. People can come in almost like a taste test, almost like, let me see what this is all about. But the thing that makes live that much better is because they also get to understand the personality of the person, understand their passion, right, for the topic that they're talking about. And I've seen it far too many times. Whenever somebody comes on a live show, or even something that I'm producing for a client, and a question is asked that was completely out of left field, and the client is able to dissect that question and answer it without preparation and with enthusiasm, people are like, book me right now. I don't need the sales call. I don't need any of the other stuff. Book me right now. I want to work with this guy. I did a show for a financial advisor, and he didn't even want to be on the show. He didn't even want to be on it. He's like, this is not for me. It's not my space. But he did one of those things happened, and 4 people in the chat were like, how do I contact this guy? Wow. How do I contact him? I want him to manage my money just from his passion. And I think that's one of the things most people are afraid of going live. Pastors, preachers, teachers as well. They're afraid to be, they're fine if it's in the pulpit with a big audience in front of them. They'll be live there. But sing in front of a camera, very intimate, like there's something different about that. And one of the things that I also share on the flip side of that, Maeve, is the decision moment for a person when they're watching online can be, don't stone me out now, it can be more powerful than being in person in church, because generally speaking, it's experienced like this. And so you have a full screen speaker speaking directly to someone. There is no one else. And so they're saying something like, if you heard the call of God while the message was shared today. And so it just can be a little bit more personal, even though others are in the comments, even there are others doing other things. But when you think about that experience, there's something to be said for how that can be impactful for somebody as well. So yeah, I love that. And I think, it definitely lends itself to the faith-based space as well. When people see our passion and our love and our desire for people, they're like, that's peculiar. That's different. That's what makes you this way, right? So, and I'm telling you this from my own experience. My channel is not religious. And I do get a lot of people who hit me up and like, why are you different? Why are you this way? And I'm able to share my faith. So I challenge all believers to create content, to share their stories, because the Bible does tell us, we overcome by the blood of the Lamb, and that is non-negotiable. That's free for everybody. But the last part of that statement is that we overcome by our testimony, and that's our story. So we got to mind that thing. We got to be students of our own story so that we can share that story and impact others' lives.
Absolutely.
Wow. I love that.
Maeve, you had one more thing before we send him out of here. We've kept him captive too long on this live stream, so we have grabbed
generally
him by both.
What happens whenever I'm on, man. I'm a talker.
No, it's good. I feel like we've just said you stay here while we rattle these. Maeve, you have one more thing that I think both set us both back on our butts.
Oh, I also love what you said, is that God is the ultimate content creator.
Yes.
Because I think it's so obvious, and yet we forget it.
Yeah. Jordan Rayner, in his book Called to Create, he says that line. He says, before God tells us about his omnipotence, about his, all of the things, he says right in Genesis 1:1 that he's a creator. That's his first attribute that he shares with us, is that he is a creator. And then if we think about the definition of content creation, it is something that is made for someone to enjoy. And so what I ask in that class, the content creation for ministry masterclass, I ask people, is an apple a piece of content for you to enjoy? And it is.
Yeah.
Is a tree, is a landscape, as the colors in fall. God is absolutely a content creator. And I think we are following in his footsteps. You guys are going to get me started now, but we're following in his footsteps when we decide to create. It is not just the carpenter. It is not just, the cook. People who are online who create content like we're doing right now, you're creating something. And, Sean Cannell has this saying where it's like a video you put on YouTube, it's like a little robot that you turn on and it never stops ticking. It will continue to go and go and go forever. So I love that. And I love that attribute of God that he shows us very prominently. And I'm seeking to get others to feel comfortable with that aspect of themselves as well. So thank you for that. That's one of my favorite quotes as well.
Absolutely. And that hit us both hard. I mean, the fact that the first thing God says to Adam is not, hey, go and chop down a tree, or hey, go and comb your hair. He says, be fruitful and multiply. Basically, essentially saying, hey, you're going to name all this stuff. You're going to create the identities of these animals, and then I need you to create more of yourself, and you need to keep going. Yep, exactly.
That's
and so,
good. Wow, that's good.
Yep, absolutely. Okay, last question. Since you are such a content creation master, and there are a lot of techies that watch and use Ultra Live and follow along with this, there's a lot of geeks like you and me out there. Give me, and you don't have to be one, you can give me your top 3 pieces of gear that you could not live without today.
It's difficult.
I know it's difficult. Trust me. I
talked about this in the lead up. This is difficult.
And
now,
he still don't have an answer.
I will tell you one of the newer ones that I have, and it is. Can I show this? Let's do that.
Ooh.
Yeah, here we go. So one of the newer ones I have is the teleprompter.
Okay.
I know that's small, but this is the teleprompter. It's a Glide Gear TMP 100 with a 10-inch Lilliput 4K monitor. It is definitely something I can no longer live without. Because I can just throw my script on here. I can throw my notes on here. I can maintain eye contact. It has been a game changer for me. So teleprompter, definitely one of them. Is it like on that low list? No. Another one would be the Stream Deck. I just love the ability to hit a button, which I just did a second ago, to switch the cameras and just do something and not have to really take my eyes off the screen. You can program those things in. The Stream Deck has been absolutely a game changer for me. I'll say another one that it may not seem as intuitive to others, but it's this little thing right here. This
laptop stand?
This is a laptop stand. It is a laptop stand. And the reason why I love it is when I'm on the run, I hate looking down at my webcam. So this stand allows the laptop to be eye level, and I can still have that eye contact. So we're talking less than $20. It is absolutely worth the time, effort, energy to grab one. I have 4 maybe.
Wow.
One in my bag. I have them all over, and they just, I do a little bit of travel, do a little bit of around town work, and so having it and being able to lift it up and do what I need to, definitely one that I would not live without. And I say that because I have multiple of them. I could go on, but I want to just stop there.
Yeah.
I need to invest in one of those because I have like a bunch of decorative boxes. We've had this conversation, Andy. I have a million decorative boxes that I just stack up
everything up. Yep.
So I can put my microphone and my computer. So maybe the next step is getting a laptop stand.
Absolutely. Maeve.
Yeah, no, this one in particular, because it folds all the way down and it fits in my bag, it's just a game changer, man. The other ones I have are not, like, you can see the one behind me over here. It doesn't fold down, so it is a bit big to carry around. This one, it's in my backpack and I'm good to go. So
awesome.
Really good one.
Well, I'm rolling the music. We are going to get out of here. Kirk, we are huge fans of you. Everybody else, all of Kirk's information, all his follows, everything are in the description of this video. Check him out. Check out everything he's doing. We love this man. We love everything. Dude, thank you so much for being here. I appreciate it. And when you're in Tampa, you know who to look up, and you know...
I'm definitely going to message you.
I will treat... I don't know if you're a coffee guy. There's a new coffee house that just opened right around the corner from the church. And it's that craft coffee stuff that will blow your head off. Yeah.
Okay, let's go.
Absolutely. Maeve, we'll talk to you later as well. Everybody else, thanks so much for joining us on the Altar Live Show. We'll see you next time. Love you guys.